Does everything seem to be falling apart in your life right now? Maybe you just lost your job or realized you need to switch jobs. Maybe your living situation is also in shambles and everything feels out of your control. Are you going through a bad breakup and have no clue what you're going to do? If this is you, I want you to take a deep breath in with me right now. Make sure the air is going deep into your belly on your inhale. And then slowly breathe out through your mouth. And take a few more here if you need them. I'm about to get very vulnerable on this episode with you guys today. Hello, and welcome to this safe space. I'm your host, Heather, and on this podcast, I share with you ways to move past trauma, anxiety, and stress so you can reclaim your energy and live a more peaceful inner life. I'm going to share a story. When I was typing this up, I literally had this internal battle about whether or not this was really what I was supposed to put on YouTube today. The way that I create these episodes, I'm typically in a meditative state and then an idea will pop up and then the whole thing will just kind of stream out. So I'll grab my laptop and I type all this stuff up. Today, though, it happened a little differently. It was, I was prompted to talk about when everything falls apart in your life and really what's going on. I was prompted to talk about this. And then when I sat down with my laptop, this story came out. And halfway through, I almost just shut my laptop and was like, I'm not ready to talk about this. But then on the other hand, I was like, no, if this is what I'm feeling, it needs to come out. So today I want to talk about a loop that used to occur frequently in my life. And if you haven't listened to my episode on how to break relationship and money cycles, I'll link it below. This is the type of loop I'm kind of referring to today. From the age of 7 to now, I'm 40 right now, I've moved 28 times. This is a culmination of moving house, moving to a different state, moving to a different country. I don't remember my life before age 7, but I was told that we moved every year or two back then as well. So my number is definitely over 30 in terms of I'm 40 years old and I have moved over 30 times in my life. Some of these moves in my adult life occurred because everything in my life at that point started to fall apart. Things that were completely out of my control. Most were from crazy situations in my living space, which forced a move to a different house or apartment or even estate. The one particular move that I want to talk about today is the move I made in 2021. And one of the craziest realizations I had when I went back and counted my moves was that I found that most of my moves, and definitely all of my major moves, always happened in October, or a couple days before or a couple days after October. So October was always a term, October would be the month that I was actually moving, or I had just moved to a new place, or everything was going crazy, and then I moved a few days after October ended, which was so interesting because these were not moves that I planned. So, and I was born in October, so it's just very interesting how life works, right? But back in 2021, I was living with someone that I didn't know before we decided to become roommates. So a friend of mine pointed out a post she had about needing a roommate, and at the time I was needing to move as well. So at the beginning, it felt so right. The situation could not have been better if you had asked me about it, say back in February of 2021. So we moved in October of 2020. And then, so it was going great. Everything I needed, I found it in where we moved to and this roommate, right? I actually considered her a really good friend. I thought we had a good thing going. But little did I know, she was a covert narcissist. And side tangent, my dad is a narcissist, and I had always struggled with attracting this personality type into my life, and I usually didn't know it. I didn't know how to see it before something crazy would happen that revealed their true nature. So everything was going just fine until I started really feeling burnt out in my job. I was working for an amazing little small company. I have nothing bad to say about them, but it was in a warehouse that would get up to the high 90s in the summertime, and it was very physically demanding. I ended up with heat exhaustion multiple times working in this company, and honestly, I was not getting paid enough to keep doing that to my body. Now, it's a small business, so, I understood where they were at, but at the same time, I got to a point where I couldn't do it for that amount of money anymore. So in June of 2021, I had a meeting to talk to my boss about a raise. Now, the crazy thing about this time frame was that for a couple weeks leading up to this impromptu meeting, I noticed that my lower abdomen felt really hard. Like when I laid down, it felt like a rock and it looked like I kind of had a ball sticking out. I wasn't pregnant, but I really didn't know if it was like just my abs because I was overworking a lot of my muscles. So I thought maybe that it was just like my lower abs were were a little funky, right? And it was really hard for me to keep weight on when the temperature got hot at work. And so June was usually when I started losing any weight that I had put on during the winter. And the ball became very noticeable at this point. So I signed up for health insurance and I made an appointment to get a sonogram that Friday. The way these two things were scheduled out was I had a meeting with my boss on Wednesday, and then I had the sonogram on Friday. The meeting happened, and I was told that I really wouldn't be able to get the raise that I was wanting and needing for another 18 months. So this basically told me that I needed to start looking for something else. Then I went in on Thursday, and Thursday was cold brew filtering day, and I was the cold brew technician. I did this whole process myself. So filtering day was the most strenuous day that I would ever have there. The equipment was very heavy. It took the entire 8 hours to complete. And in order to complete it in 8 hours, I had to move fast. It was really rough. And cold brew was summertime. Like summertime, that was when we were doing the most of it. So it was hot and I was moving and it was really intense. But at one point during this process, I started feeling this really bad pain coming from my lower abdomen. It was so bad that I had to go home. Then the next day at the sonogram, I was told that I had a very large tumor growing in my uterus and I had to have surgery. And they told me that I couldn't work my job because that would keep causing me pain. So I was out of work instantly. On top of that, the surgeon wanted to put me on this medication that would essentially mimic menopause in hopes of starving the tumor of hormones, and they hoped by doing this, it would start to shrink within 3 to 6 months. This wasn't even a guarantee, but the surgeon in California basically told me that it was too risky to do the surgery with how big it was. So now I'm not going to be able to work for months. So my new job became looking for work I could do from home. But I had never had a work from home job at that point, and my job experience had always been in positions that required, an in-person schedule. I wasn't finding anything. And then a couple months after this all started, my roommate went totally crazy on me. It was like a light switch went off and her real self was revealed all at once. I was still paying all my bills. It had nothing to do with that. She just went insane and started accusing me of things I wasn't doing publicly on her business's social media page. So she wouldn't confront me in person. She would send me really nasty text messages, very abusive text messages. She would berate me through text, yet during this time, I never saw her in the apartment. Come to find out later, she actually had a camera in our living room without my knowledge. So basically, all of a sudden, what I thought was a really great living situation turned into this crazy, insane, like, who have I been rooming with situation. She avoided me, probably because she knew that everything she was saying was BS, basically. And the situation turned just as fast as my job situation. Not only that, but the way that she was verbally attacking me through her Instagram account and texts, that she sent me triggered the fuck out of me. It sent me straight back to my abusive ex-husband and how he used to do the same thing. So I found myself in a similar position where I was living with this person that became a monster and I couldn't leave. I had nowhere to go because I was living off of my savings at this point. So no recent pay stubs to acquire a new living situation. That was the craziest rough point of this transition. But one day I went over to my sister's house and my mom was in town staying with her, and I talked about what was going on, and then my sister that lived in New York invited me to come stay with her while I was like getting ready for surgery and all that, because clearly I needed to get away from this roommate and I couldn't figure it out on my own. So then while I was packing up and getting ready to leave, some of my friendships started to fall apart, and these were friends that I thought I would have in my life for a very long time. It was so odd. And one day I realized how everything was so synchronistically falling apart. I had been doing a lot of inner work at this point. I was focusing on healing from my past abusive relationships. I was developing a better relationship with myself. I had started setting up boundaries, and I felt that I had been making so much progress. And here was the turning point. So at this point, I had two options. I could look at everything that was going on and I could view myself as a victim, or I could see it for what it really was. In order for new things to come into our lives, the old has to break away first. Let's go back to the job. I realized I was worth more, and I took action to ask for it. The fact that I was not going to be able to receive the raise I truly needed meant I was not meant to stay there anymore. Cue in the tumor. It literally forced me out of the job that my body could not handle anymore. The very next day, after finding out I couldn't get paid what I was worth, it kind of saved me, because without the tumor and the forced exit of this job, my roommate, based on the real issue she had, which was that I was now home more, and she didn't like that, if I stayed working at that job, she wouldn't have gone crazy when she did, more than likely, because it wouldn't have triggered her, right? So apparently, I wasn't meant to stay in California anymore. And my friendships falling apart really allowed me to move without hesitation. And when friendships fall apart, I don't view it as a negative thing. I view it as, I don't believe that people that come into our life are always meant to stay in our life forever. I don't believe that. I believe in what my experience has been is that people are meant to come into your life during a certain time for certain reasons. And what I've found is that I'm always meant to learn something or grow from a certain experience or friendship. Once you grow past a certain point, or once the reason why that person came into your life once it's fulfilled what it's supposed to do, then they're supposed to exit. I feel like life is very fluid. Everything changes. And as you're changing and evolving and working on yourself and bettering yourself, the people that are in your life, they might not be at that point with you. And so there's nothing bad to say about this, but friendships and people are meant to, come and go. And I saw all of this. I saw it for what it truly was. I was now ready for something better in every area that fell apart in California. It's not easy to say that when it's happening, right? It's easy to say that now, looking back. I did see the synchronicity in everything at that moment, and I was actively trying to keep I kept reminding myself that this is falling apart for the better. There's something better that's going to be coming in. But in the moment, I was also dealing with everything that was falling apart. I was dealing with trying to stay out of survival mode. I was dealing with the emotions that came up with the triggers around the abuse. I was mourning friendships, and it was all happening at the same time. So it didn't look like this butterflies and rainbows, and I'm seeing the synchronicities and just always being in this blissed out state. It was rough. But at the same time, during these rough times, I kept reminding myself that I can see the synchronistic part of it. I could see that everything was falling apart, and the way it was falling apart, it was like I couldn't not see it, right? It was all so perfectly timed out that I couldn't deny that it was meant to happen. But it was still really rough. It was the roughest. I can honestly say that move was the roughest thing that I had ever gone through. So if this is you right now, can you see the synchronicities? Can you see any type of synchronicity? Have you been working on yourself lately? Have you been working on your relationship with yourself? Have you been putting up healthy boundaries? Have you been advocating for yourself more? Have you been developing an inner peace? If so, look around you. Is what's falling apart really good for you? Meaning, if this thing stayed in your life right now, could you see yourself growing further with it there? Or are the things that are falling apart outdated now? Look at the friendships that may be falling apart or relationships. Do you connect with these people on a really deep level? Do you feel like they are enriching your life by being in your life? Or have you outgrown them? Is the job that's falling apart truly something good for you? Or are you like me, underpaid, overworked? Have you been thinking about finding another job and now it's forcing you to? And your living situation, is it truly a peaceful, beautiful situation? Or are you ready for an upgrade? It's similar to plants, right? If anybody grows plants, if you have house plants, you put them in a pot and they grow, but at one point they become root bound. They need a bigger pot. They need a bigger situation. They need a better situation, right? So you repot them, you move them into a different pot so that they can continue growing. We're kind of like houseplants, We need bigger, better things after we've outgrown what we're in. We always outgrow, situations and places. And if we force ourselves to stay in the places that we already feel like we've outgrown, it's going to get hard. It's going to get really rough, right? It's not a comfortable place to be. You don't feel like you can grow. And if you're in a place that you don't feel like you can grow anymore, that's a huge sign that it's time for something better. It's time for something new. It's time for a change. And we may not be able to control the things that are falling apart, but what we do have control over is how we react to it. We can either be a victim and stay in the fear and worry roller coaster, or we can choose to see the synchronicities and we can choose to believe that this is happening for us, not to us. It is 2025 now, and when I look back on 2021, I would not change anything that fell apart. I wouldn't change how it fell apart or why it fell apart, because when I moved and I put in the effort to stay out of survival mode, my entire life changed for the better. I ended up with a better surgeon and my surgery went wonderfully. Plus, I didn't end up with any medical debt. If I would have stayed in California, I would have had an $8,000 medical bill, possibly more. But because I had no option to stay and I had surgery in a new state where I hadn't found work yet, I was on Medicaid. And when I had surgery and the entire thing was covered, I didn't pay a dime. Then after surgery, I found the best working environment I had ever experienced. They saw my worth and they compensate me for it. I have the best bosses and coworkers I could have ever asked for. And my friendships, this was so crazy to me because I really mourned my friends. I truly missed them. I missed all of them. And there was a decently long time that I moved, because I moved at the end of 2021, and trying to look back now, I believe it was like summer of 2023 that I first kind of met like one of my first really good friends. Like that's when I really started truly meeting people that felt like soul tribe members. Like they're so emotionally aware and self-aware. They communicate beautifully, and I feel a really deep connection with every single person that is in my life right now. My friendships got an upgrade. And that's not to say that everything in California was bad. Like, on the contrary, everything I experienced there was perfect for me. Everyone that was in my life was perfect for me when it was meant to be. The only consistent thing in life is change. And when we can see the synchronicities and remind ourselves that in order for something better to come in, something else needs to leave, we can start to see the beauty in what falls apart. It can actually give us hope instead of fear and worry. And I know it can feel hard in the moment, but hold on to that knowing that everything is falling apart so that new, better opportunities can have room to come in. But you have to choose to view it that way. If you stay in victim mode, basically you're going to attract what you are. So if you stay in the victim mentality, if you keep saying that this is happening to you and it's not fair, and you're in that fear and worry and you can't get out of that, then you're going to struggle through this. It's going to be a really big struggle. I've done that my entire life. Like, this move in 2021 was the first move where everything fell apart and I saw the synchronicities in it. Like, all the other times that this would happen, I went into survival mode. I was in fear and worry. I was acting in my masculine energy, feeling like I had to create, I had to work really hard to find something better, but I was in fear and worry and in survival mode, so I could not create something better. It basically would just repeat itself. The situations that I would come out of, and then I would go into another situation, over time they would play out the same way, right? It's like that looping effect. Again, I'll link that podcast down below because that one's also, if you're here, that one also might help you. Yeah, so but if you can look around right now, if you're here, if you're in survival mode, if you're freaking out right now, don't beat yourself up over this. What you really want to do is be as kind as possible to yourself, okay? Be as kind and loving to yourself as possible, but also truly look at these situations that are falling apart. Can you honestly say that this would be better to stay in your life? Or could you? Okay, so this is a good way to find out if you honestly think like, yeah, that's what I need right now, I can't lose that. I want you to envision something better. If this is a job that you lost, what about that job did you not like? Envision a job that is better in all the areas that you would want it to be better in. Envision that this is exactly what I did to find the job that I found. I was sitting down one day and I was just at one point I was applying for everything I found. And then I realized something. I was like, why am I doing this? This is like scarcity mindset. I got to apply for everything because I might not find anything, right? So when I realized that, I started, instead of just applying for everything that came up, I sat down and I wrote out everything that I want in a job, everything that I really need in a job. I wrote it down. I got very clear on what I want to bring into my life. And you know what happened? I found a job that checked off every single thing on that list. But then on top of that, there were cherries on top that I couldn't have even thought about. Like, there were things that popped up where I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't have even thought to put that on my list because I never even knew that a job could be like this. I never knew that a job could treat me this well. I never knew that I could have a working environment this healthy and this good and this supportive and this positive. The universe will surprise you. When you get clear on what you truly want and deserve, the universe will surprise you with something even better usually. So definitely get clear on what you really want. If this is a partnership that's falling apart, is this person really good for you right now? Were there things in that relationship that you felt like you just couldn't handle anymore, or you really truly did dislike, but you just kind of shoved it under the rug, like, well, I'm not going to be able to find someone better, so I'll just stay with this person? Do the same thing with your ideal partner. Write down a list, but also, if this partnership is falling apart, look for the things that maybe you need to learn from this relationship. So I am a true believer that the people that enter our life, we're meant to learn something from everyone. And it could be something small, it could be something monumental. What in this relationship was not ideal? And then try to find the things that like you could learn from this relationship, but realize in the next one, I want something better. Or did you find yourself being a certain way that you caught yourself every now and then you're like, oh, I don't like how I'm like that in this relationship, but I don't know how to get out of that. I don't know how to shift that. I don't know how to make that go away. Let's take jealousy, for instance, or codependency. Maybe you felt very codependent on this person. Maybe you felt like you couldn't leave them, even though you knew they weren't exactly great for you, but you just felt like you wouldn't be able to find someone else, or something made you just not be able to break up with this person. And now the universe is like, no, you need to leave. Okay. I love how the universe will just come in. If there's something that we are dragging on that we really need to move past, the universe will just come in and be like, no, let's clear this away right now. You know, that kind of happened with my job. It happened with friendships. It happened with my living situation. Like, there's a reason why things are falling apart. And if you can't see the reason right now, that's okay. We're not meant to always see the reason right away. It'll come. You'll realize it at one point. You will look back and you will be so grateful that everything fell apart because of what came in next, right? But we really have to look at this as this is happening for us. And if it's happening for us, that means that something better is going to come in. It means that there's something better for us. So we really want to stay out of the survival mode. We want to stay out of the fear and the worry around it. And we want to start to develop trust that because this is falling apart, that just means that something better is coming towards you. That just means that something better is out there for you, and you're slowly moving in that direction now. You're now moving towards it. So get excited. Like, I remember there were times where in between, you know, the crazy emotions I was feeling, when I would sit and really look at the synchronistic aspect of it, I would start to get really excited because I was like, wow, you know, like, I'm ready for something better. I'm definitely ready for something better. I knew I was ready for a better job. I knew that for a fact. You know, that was the one thing I did see before it all fell apart. And so I would just get in that excitement of like, ooh, what's going to come in? Dream, create that new vision. What do you want to bring in? We are the creators of our life. What we feel and think brings what is in our life to us. So, but it takes time. So if you're feeling and thinking a certain way, let's take this situation right now. If you're feeling like a victim, if you're feeling fear and worry, then you're going to draw that back in. You're just going to repeat this cycle again. But if you can see the worry and fear, okay, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that this is a scary time. Acknowledge that you have no idea what's going to happen, and the unknown is scary. Humans are scared of the unknown, right? That's normal, but tell yourself this is normal. It's normal to feel this, but at the same time, I know this is happening for me, and I know that something better is on its way to me right now. I know that something better is on its way to me right now, and create the vision of what you want to bring into your life. Get very clear on, okay, if you view this as an upgrade, okay, this is an upgrade in your life. View it that way, and then write down what that upgrade would look like for you. If it's a job, what is your better version of this type of work? What is your ideal job? What would you rather be doing for money? Write that down, get very clear on it, and then get really excited about it. Like really allow yourself to feel like, wow, this is really coming towards me. This is what's going to be coming towards me, and feel into that excitement, feel the happiness of that, feel the excitement of it, because our feelings and our thoughts and what we believe to be true and what we feel we deserve is what comes into our life. So we really want to get clear on what you want to bring in, because everything's out of your control, right? Everything that's falling apart, maybe all that's out of your control, but you have control over your reaction to it. You have control over how you're going to think and feel about it. And by controlling the thinking and the feeling and choosing an upgrade over a victim, you're going to bring in better. Okay. So what if you can't feel any of this right now? Maybe this is like the first time that everything has ever fallen apart in your life and you have no idea how to start feeling this way. I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet, and I'm not sure if I'll ever actually do it like this in the future. But if you're watching this video close to when I posted it, it's going to post in April of 2025, the beginning of April of 2025. So if you're watching it during April of 2025 and you're struggling with everything that's falling apart and you don't know how to hold on to the trust, you don't know, maybe you've never even been able to trust yourself or the universe before. You can't trust that everything will work out, and you're looking back, you don't know how to handle this. Please reach out in a comment. Please comment below that you could use some support. I do have room for 1 or 2 clients right now in the month of April of 2025. It doesn't have to stay just in the month of April, but if you reach out in the month of April and I still have a spot open, I want to be able to hop on a Zoom call with you. I would love to offer some support. If you feel like you desperately need support and you don't have a support system already around you, please comment, please reach out. I'm going to be checking these comments, and I will be able to hop on Zoom calls with a couple of you and actually try to help you through this time, because I know how rough it was for me. And my support system was solely my sister saying, hey, come to New York. It was literally like a safety net was put out and everything worked out. And without that, I have no idea where I'd be right now, to be honest. I have no idea what would have happened. I know that something better would have still come around, but when I was there in that moment, that safety net of moving to New York was literally the only option or opportunity that I could see. It was literally the only opportunity that was available at that time. But it was really interesting, because then after I moved to New York and the people I'm meeting, I'm like, wow, I was meant to be here. I was meant to be here right now, because there have been so many people that have come into my life that I've been able to help and support through things like this, that I could not deny that I was meant to be in New York. And I would have never moved to New York, ever, ever, ever. That was not something that, New York is never somewhere that I would have ever wanted to move to. But here I am, and now I feel like I was meant to be here, and it's just worked out so wonderfully. So I want to offer that support to you. So comment down below if you're still here with me. And if you're still here with me now, I would love for you to subscribe. I'm going to be putting out more videos, more podcasts on these types of topics to help you move through transitions in your life, move through trauma, heal from past experiences, and help you be able to cope and deal with what's going on currently right now and move you in a positive direction. So thank you for being here with me, and I will see you on the next podcast.